more out of your love, sex, romance, everything. You're curiouser. So am I. In this live, I'm sharing my thoughts on life, love, passion, and creating something that is far better than I ever could have dreamed. Welcome to Curiouser.
Hi! Oh my goodness. So look at me. I actually got the introduction to play automatically when I went live. How baller is that? Yeah, still pretty proud of myself. Okay, so hey. For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Heather, also known as Nookie. In addition to living an amazing life full of love, sex, passion, adventure, exploration, I write books, teach workshops, and offer coaching to people of all genders, races, kinks, and more. Today, I am talking about, hey, Cobalt, good to see you, asking your partners about boundaries and getting answers. So, one of my readers asked, I frequently come across play partners that don't have many personal boundaries with me. They trust that I would ask before doing something, which is understandable. It always seems like my partners don't voice many boundaries while I discuss mine. They're okay with me going further than my own boundaries, but don't push it. So that's good. It makes me feel uneasy when people don't voice boundaries, but what do I do with that feeling in these situations? Right? So I'm going to be talking about how modeling behavior and using curiouser language and techniques can help make people feel comfortable sharing their boundaries with you in any and every situation. As a bonus, by encouraging your partners to set and maintain healthy boundaries for themselves, you'll also likely find that they're more interested in and understanding of yours. I'll be answering your questions about encouraging boundaries communication in your relationships or your situationships based on the book I'm currently writing on how to build better relationships through discovering, creating, and maintaining healthy boundaries. Yay. Cobalt says, I'd recommend you to the Consent Academy Twitch stream. So you got to have your opener on that. Oh, you'd recommended me. So you got to have your opener on this stream. Wow, that's exciting. Neato. Dennis, you say, I've never seen your full body view. And why would you? I'm not here modeling clothing. I'm here talking about boundaries and relationships and stuff. So, I know you're beautiful. I'm sorry I asked this. Of course, forget what I said. I just realized out of line. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really, really do. So let's get started. First of all, let me just say that I do keep an eye on the chat. If you have any questions at all, please pop them into the chat. I will keep an eye on it and I will answer them as I go along. So don't hesitate to ask questions, make comments, whatever. Love to see people engaging and talking about things. So the best way, and this is my number one, the best way to encourage your partners to share their boundaries with you is to model your own good boundaries and ethics. Now, in my book that I'm writing and in my workshop, I talk a lot about how boundaries and ethics are two sides of the same coin, right? Boundaries are how you allow people to treat you and what you accept and expect from them. Ethics are how you treat others and what you give to them, right? So I firmly believe, and I've said this over and over and over again, that boundaries are not just the key to saving our relationships, but they are key to saving ourselves. I also believe that in order to truly and fully live a life of good boundaries, we also have to exhibit and display good ethics. And I'll tell you why. Because if we don't behave towards others as if their boundaries are valid and important and honor them, then we will accept when people behave towards us as if our boundaries are not valid, important, and not worth honoring. It's a strange way the human brain works. I also like to say that if you are willing to judge others, then you are willing to allow them to judge you. Right? It is that simple. So, as I said, the best way to encourage a partner or partners, friends, family, whatever, to share their boundaries with you is to model good boundaries and also good ethics. Let's look at a few tips. First one, and these tips are deceptively simple, but as I again often say, not necessarily easy. First tip, always speak for yourself. Like, don't put words in your partner's mouth, right? Don't say, well, this is what you're saying, unless you are literally quoting them. In fact, to go along with the idea of being curiouser, speak with I statements and ask with you statements. I feel this. Do you feel XYZ? Do I hear you saying ABC? Right? Speak with I statements. Ask questions with you statements. Always, always, always speak only for yourself. Allow your partner the room to be themselves, and don't pressure them into doing this, that, or the other thing. It's not fair to pressure them during any communication process. Tip number 2, maintain your boundaries with compassion and work with your partner to maintain theirs. So, just a few moments ago, Dennis said something that, as he said, he realized it was out of line. Now, I could have been rude. I could have been mean. Instead, I simply said, I set my boundary, right? So by doing so, by being kind and compassionate, which honestly, I have nothing to lose by being kind and compassionate, when I might encourage someone else to share their boundaries, they are more likely to match my energy and delivery. So I can work with my partner to speak and maintain their boundaries in the same way over time. So, for example, and we definitely want to encourage our partner to maintain their boundaries, because here's an example. Have you ever been at the end of a relationship and you suddenly, realizing that the relationship was going to end, felt a weight lifted off of your shoulders? Like you suddenly had a zest for life. You started doing the things that you wanted to do, being who you wanted to be, and it felt like you were finally alive and like in full Technicolor again. Like you were Dorothy going from Kansas to Oz, right? All of a sudden, everything is brighter and clearer, or like the Claritin commercials, right? That is a sure sign that in that relationship, you compromised your boundaries away until you weren't fully you anymore, right? So ask your partner questions. What do they want out of now, out of this situation, out of the relationship? What do they want for dinner this evening? Ask questions. Be curious. Don't make assumptions or think that because your partner was this way 2 months ago, that your partner is exactly that way now. Don't allow them to do that to you, right? And don't do that to them. It's not fair in either direction. Cobalt, how do you express wanting something while not pressuring? That's a great question. So I'm pretty practiced at this now. I say things like, hey, I want, fill in the blank. I want this thing, and I'm hoping that we can negotiate a time to make it happen. Or, hey, here's this thing that I want, and I know that that may not be your thing, but I'd like to ask you for it. And if it's not, no pressure, no big deal. I said to a friend of mine, I don't know, a little while ago, a couple days ago, maybe, whatever. Hey, I'd like to tell you this thing, but I don't want to getting back to this other person, for example, right? Is this something that you're willing to maintain in privacy, even though you are really good friends with this other person? I'd like to bounce these ideas off of you. And whatever your answer, I still adore you, right? So being able to say, I want this thing, are you able to provide it? Are you willing to, hey, I'd like a chance to sit down, maybe spend a half hour or an hour talking about XYZ. Could we do this at dinner on Thursday? Right? Give them both the time and the space to think about what you're asking, like instead of asking for it right now, unless it's something like, hey, babe, could I get a hug? I'm having kind of a crappy day, right? Or give them the ability to turn you down and show that you're not going to retaliate. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in receiving requests and boundaries moving forward. Shalimar says, to answer Cobalt, my version has also looked like my perfect includes X. Can we adjust this so that it works for you as well? Absolutely. That is a lovely collaboration statement. My perfect evening would be this, then that, then this. Is that something you're game for? Or how can we collaborate to get as much of what I want and as much of what you want into this night, right? I mentioned this yesterday when I was talking about getting curious with people, but like my partner and I were sitting on the couch Sunday evening, and one of his friends texted him and he says, "Hey, so-and-so just texted, wondered what I was doing." And I immediately said, if you want to go out and have a couple beers, have a great time. If you could, please be back by such and so a time so that we can have some sexy time and together time that we've been putting off this weekend before I go to bed, and we can wind down from the weekend and get ready for Monday. That would be perfect. Collaboration, right? And how you use language with your partners is going to be different than how I use language with my partners, of course. But the overall thought process behind it is going to be similar. And as Shalimar says, that lets them know that I have a want and that I can negotiate it. Cobalt says, like making space for the possibility they can say no within the question itself as often as possible, yes. If not, then I follow it up with something as simple as, hey, no pressure. Like I'll literally say, no pressure. It's okay if you say no. Now, as you build relationships like this, you don't have to say that as often. However, also understand that a lot of people are in relationships where their partners have not allowed them good boundaries. And that can take years and years and years to overcome the knee-jerk fear and reaction. So better safe than sorry, I guess. Cobalt says, as I express my needs and boundaries with more kindness, my partner has been more responsive. That is usually how it's going to work. And if it's not working that way after time, and we talk about that in the Take No Shit workshop, of course, if it's not working that way after time, then perhaps you're just not a good fit, right? If you can't find that rhythm to communicating with each other more wholeheartedly. So, as we were just talking about, and Shalom, y'all, you're always ahead of me. Next one, speak up for your needs and desires. Say not just the bare minimum, but the ideal, right? Listen, well, ask for and listen to their ideal. What would you like to do this evening? Here is what I would like to do this evening. How many of these things can we shove into one evening together and make it worth our while, right? Again, it goes along with what I was talking about yesterday. Being curious about your partner and always staying curious, right? Don't just assume you know what the answer is. And you might find there is more to meeting in the middle and collaboration than you might think, because a lot of people get so used to compromise where you're constantly battling for control and giving things up in order to get that, and doing tit for tat style relationships versus, hey, as Shalimar said, this is what I would really love. How can we do as much of this as possible and do as much of what you would really love as possible and enjoy ourselves together? Right? Get curious about the process as well. The next one is key, super duper key. Oh, Emily has a question. How do you overcome your anxiety of speaking up for what your needs and wants are? Whew. Emily, you come out with a heavy hitter right there, don't you? Interestingly enough, so coming up, what date is that? Hold on, I have to check my calendar real quick. That is Thursday, the 16th of March. Thursday, the 16th of March. We are going to have, for the Take No Shit workshop, a special live presentation just like this one, only it's going to be public. And normally I do my Take No Shit workshop topics, weekly topics, privately. This week, I'm going to be doing a guided meditation on boundaries in your past and so on and so forth. But coming up on the 16th of March, a friend of mine, Miss Betty, is going to be specifically talking about speaking up for your needs and your wants with anxiety. So she and I are going to be discussing this because she had posted on Facebook, and I'm going to read this to you because I thought it was really interesting. Having a backbone can be anxiety inducing, especially for someone with rejection sensitive anxiety. However, I am learning the joy of prolonged peace is worth the 30 minutes to an hour of heightened anxiety. She posted that on Facebook and I said, hey, want to come talk about it? And she said, yes, let's schedule it. So that's going to be on Thursday, March 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to do that for the Take No Shit workshop people. And we're going to go live. And so when we go live, that will be up for everyone for a little while. And then it'll come down off of like YouTube, Facebook, whatever. And it'll go into the Take No Shit archives. But to answer your question more in the here and now, start small. Start with what I would call low value items, right? Start with something you're almost positive you're going to get a good response to. Start with, while you're out and you're, feeling romantic and holding hands or whatever, saying, hey, can I get a kiss? Right? Get a kiss. Ask for something in the moment when you're feeling that and work your way up. If you are in an existing relationship, if you are not yet in that existing relationship. So I will tell you this, it is harder by a factor of a gazillion sometimes to change your relationship patterns in existing relationships than it is to create new habits in new relationships. Because I will tell you this, I am excellent at setting boundaries. And yet, sometimes I get around my parents and I revert right back to where I used to be. Now, luckily, my parents are excellent about boundaries, but there are a few things, because they're my parents. And I have to consciously think about it. Oh, yeah, that's not something that I do anymore. When you build up these habitual behaviors within a relationship, it is harder to overcome them, but you can absolutely start small. And if you have the opportunity, get your partner on board and share different things that you can start asking for and share positively reinforcing each other for doing that. Or again, this is a bit of self-promotion, but get you and your partner, or you and your friend, or you and, an accountability buddy into the Take No Shit workshop and take it together. And then work with each other on, asking for your needs, right? And making sure that, you work with each other and you practice that stuff. So, next one. This is key. Keep your ego in check. Our egos make us do a lot of things that otherwise wouldn't be a big deal. So, it may not matter much to you to be, attached at the hip or not, but your ego will whisper in your ear that if you're not seen together as a couple at such and such an event, then people will talk, right? Or if they don't do this incredibly specific and unnatural thing, then your partner doesn't really love you, right? So in that case, ask questions. Ask your partner, how do you feel about this thing? And then also ask yourself, what am I feeling about this thing that it's bringing up these kinds of thoughts and emotions? Right. Cobalt says, we are doing that, and wow. So Cobalt and Cobalt's partner are actually taking the Take No Shit workshop together. Wow, I'd never experienced intimacy, and now it's amazing. Yay. Hey, Sabyasachi. It is good to be back. And I am, as well as I can be, considering I am in the middle of, my reconstruction surgeries and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for asking. I appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, I just underwent a double preventative mastectomy, and I'm in the middle of the reconstruction process. And you can see here, I am wearing my compression top. So yeah, this is my second day live back after going through those surgeries. So, okay. So another tip, and this one's pretty self-evident. Whatever you do and however you do it with love. I mean, this should be the core of everything in your relationship, right? Or why bother? Do it with love. Do it with compassion. Do it collaboratively. Quick reminder, please don't forget, if you're watching this and you're enjoying it, or you're getting a little something out of it or whatever, don't forget to like this video and share it wherever you're finding me. It is such a huge help to me to have people recommend me to their friends and family and groups and pages and discussion boards online. Like, huge. And I would thank you so much for helping to spread the gospel of Nookie. So moving forward, there's another huge block to getting our partners to talk about their boundaries. And I've already mentioned that it's hard to get people to talk about boundaries if they have past experiences, right, that have negatively affected how they speak up, that have increased their anxiety of speaking up for their needs and wants, right? But even if we don't have that history with them, they might still be reticent. So how do we get them to talk about their boundaries? Well, like I said before, I mean, the simplest answer is to talk about your boundaries and to be safe to open up to, and to gently encourage them with questions. To, again, be curious, right? However, people tend to be complex, and the process of setting boundaries, opening up, and being vulnerable is just that. It's a process and not like a one and done thing. After all, it can be freaking scary to set boundaries in relationships when you've not been practicing. Now, I'm going to act as if, I'm not going to assume, I'm going to act as if most of you know how to set your boundaries. Especially that the original asker knows how to set their boundaries because they are in my boundaries book, Live Right. And speaking of my boundaries book, Live Right, did you know I'm writing a book about boundaries? I think I mentioned that earlier. But you can get the chapters as I write them live by joining my Take No Shit workshop. And my Take No Shit workshop can be found at takenoshit.curiouser.life. I'll pop that into the chat here. There we go. Well, theoretically, it is not going through. Why is that not going through? Okay, so just so you know, at the beginning of this, let's see if I can get this to go through one at a time. Two. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's doing it. I have a new format, a new software to stream all of this. And I am learning new things as I go. So if I am not getting this quite right every single time, just give me a week or two to get this all figured out. I really appreciate it. Anyway, takenoshit.curiouser.life. It's an online, at your own pace workshop where like the book is like a deep dive into everything boundaries, everything you need to know about it, boundaries, everything you wanted to know about boundaries, everything you didn't even know existed about boundaries. I dig into it, pick it apart, and put it back together for you. Whereas the workshop is more like a, buckle up, bitches, we're setting boundaries. Like it's a get in there and make it happen type of thing. Right now it is $47, but you can get it for as low as $27 with the choose your own price. And the price is going to go up again in April. So don't hesitate on that. And also, we are working right now, and I don't know how long this is going to take. I imagine a couple of months, on a Building Better Boundaries journaling app that will go along as sort of like a companion to the workshop. Super excited about that. Somebody had suggested it to me and we got together in a brainstorm and I took it to my developer, Cyril, and he's super excited to be working on this. So yeah, really, really thrilled about that because that's, it's got a neat idea. Cobalt says, having a better future, I think, will depend on connecting good people and practices. I think that that's true. I think that's true. And Cobalt is also part of the Take No Shit workshop, again, with their partners. So saying there's so much. I do try to give huge value for what I do. Cobalt says, will it have adjustable private settings? So that is a good question. At first, it's going to be set up so that there is a daily prompt and you can answer it for yourself, or you can answer and post to the app feed. And then in the app feed, people can like, and they can choose to like hit a connection option. And if they hit a connection option and you'd like to connect with them to talk about that prompt and your response, there will be a chat in there. That's where we're starting, very basic. But second phase will have being able to share the prompts and writings with very specific people, like your partners, and following people, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be sort of a stepped process in building that app. And it's something that we are working out the details now. I have the wireframes in place, and I'm about to get all of those to my developer, and we've figured out the names that we're going to try working through the app approval system, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, super excited about that. So I was just saying that we want to, in our discussions with our partners, is that we want to talk about our own boundaries. We want to be safe to open up to, and we want to encourage our partners with questions. So in Take No Shit, obviously, we talk about how we can set and maintain our own boundaries, right? And in this live and yesterday, I've talked quite a bit about asking, about being curious, right? So let's talk a little bit about being safe. And I wrote about this, I don't know, maybe back in 2018, not sure. Anyway, back when I wrote about this, someone I knew and liked very much had been hurt. And they were hurting because they just found out something that I had known for, I don't know, 10 months or so. Almost a year, about their partner, who they have been with 27 years at the time, right? And this person wondered why I knew and why they didn't, why I was told and they were not. And the answer was simple. But of course, you know what I say about simple, it was not easy. In fact, in a case like this, it's never easy to make this clear. The answer is it's because I'm safe. They are not. I am an incredibly safe person to tell things to. Almost anything. Because I do my best to be open-minded and to offer to help find a solution, or just to listen rather than to react or to try to take action on another's behalf. Again, going back to, I speak for myself, I ask questions for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this person that we're talking about, this person that I care about, this person that was hurt, is a crusader. And they mean well. And they are amazing and wonderful. But if you tell them that somebody has hurt you, they will go off, right? They will blow up. They will want to take action, which is great when you need a crusader. When you just want to be heard. When you need to talk things through and have somebody willing to listen to you and ask you questions. When you're angry, but you're not sure if you even have a right to be angry or if you're understanding things properly. In those situations, a crusader is like a bull in a china shop, breaking friendships and stomping on history, trying so hard to protect the one they love, protect you, when it may not really be that big of a deal, but you don't know until you've had that talk. Or maybe it is a big deal, but you're not ready to handle it like the big deal it is. You're exhausted and you're tired and you just need to be able to bitch and whine and complain for a little bit and feel like someone is listening. And in that case, the bull is stomping all over you, right? Making you feel like you're wrong for wanting to handle it in your own way or wanting to put off handling it for a while. You ever experienced this? Telling somebody something and they just go out and they want to fight that battle and sometimes they even make it worse, right? Well, they certainly handle it decisively. But there are a lot of ways to not be safe when you're interacting with others. You can react with anger. You can react with guilt. You can react with anguish or derision. You can react with a fix that they didn't ask for. Ah, yes, Cobalt says that they've done this and also have done the crusader thing. You see where I'm going with this? Because there are many ways to be a safe space as well. You can respond with love. You can respond with empathy or compassion. You can respond with an open mind, with acceptance. You can respond with offers to help however you can, as opposed to helping them, right? I offer to help however I can, as opposed to just helping whether they want it or not. Robin says, my boyfriend has done this and I've lost friendships over it. It's hard. We've fought over it. So you see there, this is somebody who is not allowing you to have your boundaries, right? This is someone who, in a situation where you are upset or you feel something or whatever, instead of centering you and what you need and what you want from that situation, is centering themselves and what they need to make their feelings feel better. And I say that from the perspective of a human who has been on both sides of that, because we've all done it, right? Cobalt says, I want to be safe going forward, so I'm taking everything much slower. That's a good way to be. So when you're talking with your partners about boundaries, think about your boundaries and what you have to say to them about what's important to you and how you want them to act towards you. but think just as much about your ethics. And ask yourself, are you safe when people bring their boundaries or their feelings to you? Would your partner, is there a reason for your partner to feel safe telling you anything? Anything. Capital ANYTHING, anything. And if not, and let's be honest, most all of us are not in some ways. So if not, in what ways are you not safe? Or maybe a better question is, in what topics, specifically topics like triggering topics or things that bring up all sorts of feels, are you not safe? And what could you do about it? So that's what I've got for you today. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate. Throw them in the chat. I'll stick around for another minute or two, see if you've got some that I can answer for you. Oh, wait, what the heck? I don't know what just happened there. Hey, y'all, I don't know what just happened there. Sorry about that. If I went blank there on your side, it looked like I went blank there on this side. Technology. So as I was saying, happy to answer any questions that you might have. You want to pop them into the chat. Otherwise, thank you for joining me today. How slow is slow? If you're talking to Cobalt will have to answer that. However, I would say this. When I say take things slowly, when I say do things that feel like they are not high stakes, what I am saying is do those things until they feel easy and then move on to the next things. If somebody says something to you that gets a reaction out of you, rather than reacting right away, pause, think. Even one of my favorite boundaries ever is saying, I need to think about that. Can I get back to you in, the next day or so after I've had a chance to really process it? Right. Oh, just in general, you say. Okay, hold on. Just in general, because I tend to run while other people are learning to walk. That's fair. So I think, and this may not apply to you, but I feel like it might. For me, I am very verbal and I'm a very now person. Like, can we deal with this now? Now. I want to get it out. I want to tell you how I feel. I want to get this over with. I want to move on. I want to be, moving past this, right? So for me, as Cobalt just says, try asking, can we talk about, and then set a time frame for it, right? Or say, hey, I'm feeling this sort of way right now. I don't need to talk about it right now, but I would like to talk about it sometime within the next couple of days, right? Or, hey, could we try XYZ? And if they say yes, say, what do we need to do to be ready for that? Right? As opposed to like just moving at your pace naturally when there are other people involved. I have found that I can be without even, I have been in the past without even intending to be a verbal bully, because I can speak and I can keep speaking and I can talk rings around the people around me and they feel overwhelmed and give up. And hey, I won, so I must have been right. But was I right? Or was I just faster than they were? And I had to really feel deeply in love with my partner. And suddenly I was horrified at the idea that I might be bullying him by making him try to deal with things on my timeline, when those are the things in my head. I might have been processing them for the past couple of hours. And I spring them on him and he's got no processing time at all. So, yeah. Okay, McNelly, would it be best to communicate with a partner about potentially triggering or unsafe for them topics and pre-warn them that you might not have the best reaction in those cases, or are there other approaches? Yes, both. I would absolutely pre-warn people if you know that something might trigger you or cause an unsafe reaction or just a frustrating reaction. And there are other approaches in that if they bring something up and you feel yourself getting to a point where you are feeling in ways that you don't want to, a good boundary is, I need a timeout. Whatever that is. I need a 15-minute timeout. I need a half-hour timeout. I need a 24-hour timeout. I need to process this, and then I can get back to you, right? I need to walk away for at least half an hour to calm myself down or to self-soothe, and then I will get back to you to discuss this within 24 hours. And it might be, we might talk via text then instead of in person and face-to-face, because sometimes that's easier when you're feeling sort of like anxious and upset, right? There are a lot of ways that you can sort of build in safety valves so that you don't get overly cranky at each other when you don't want to, right? Silicone and sunlight. How do you honor yourself when you compulsively break your own boundaries, especially when you are feeling regret or guilt afterwards? Oh, gosh, y'all are coming at me with baseball bats today. So that's another tough one. Again, like I said to Emily, start small. Start setting a boundary and working with your friends, people who love you, on practicing that boundary. Small and low pressure, right? Also, so I say in a relationship, the primary directive is to protect your heart and mind. Now, I don't mean that from the sense of you've been hurt, you've got a sore spot, whatever. What I mean is you knowing what is best for you and understanding that if somebody's not a fit, letting them slide on by. So part of that work is going to be determining who you are and who you want to be, and what types of actions do you have to take and boundaries do you have to have in order to authentically live that person. And then do it a bit at a time. It's just like any other habit. You have to practice, and you're not going to be perfect at it the first time around. Ever, 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 ever. Practice. My favorite new boundary. I can't have this conversation. I know your views are valid, but I can't stay present for this. Yeah. Celine says, I had to start very small and keep going even when I thought I had failed myself. That's a big part of it. Yeah, you got to keep going. Even when you fail. I mean, when was the last time you tried something new and you were just perfect at it the first time around? It doesn't happen to me too terribly often. And I mean, honestly, though, if you're a formerly, like gifted kid and you're used to like everything working perfectly for you in like school, and now you've got that fear of failure. Hello, Gifted Kids Anonymous. Here we are. You got to get comfortable with failing and understanding what failure actually is. And failure is just one way that it doesn't bring you the results you wanted, but it brings you results that you can learn from. So, not necessarily a failure, right? Those are great questions. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those questions with me. Thank you for joining me today. Again, if you love this discussion, you love what we're doing here with boundaries, lucky in love, communication, all these different topics, please like and share this video with others who would enjoy it. And don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you're finding me, so you don't miss out on upcoming lives. Thank you. Let me see. What have I got coming up? Real quick. I can tell you when the next one is gonna be. Okay, so tomorrow. So for those of you who don't know, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here. For those of you who don't know, I am the founder of datingkinky.com and the founder of curiouser.life. Datingkinky.com is being rebranded as Curiouser, and it's going to be something like Curiouser and Kinky is going to sort of take over that whole dating kinky space, and Curiouser is going to be sort of an amalgam of all the cool shit that I do. So some of our topics are very, very specifically Curiouser and kinky type stuff, right? So tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern. Whew, yeah, I know. I'm doing this to myself. 7 a.m. Eastern, I'll be talking on the Dating Kinky channels only, not Curiouser channels, but Dating Kinky channels, The Art of Confident Dominance, FLR, Femdom, and Women in Charge. And then tomorrow at noon Eastern, we'll be starting our Dating Kinky book club. We're actually going to be going through my book, Dating Kinky, and we're going to get started. And we're going to talk about the book and how to set up our profiles and how to date kinky successfully over a series of weeks/months. Then on Thursday, I am back to Curiouser and DK both with communication at 2 p.m. Eastern, having tough conversations, communicating in relationships. Thursday at 3, I already mentioned the Take No Shit workshop. We're going to have a guided meditation. So I am going to be guiding y'all who are in the Take No Shit workshop on a meditation about boundaries. We're going to be going back to our past. We're going to be remembering boundaries we didn't set, and we're going to be figuring out how to make those memories work better for us moving forward into the future. And then to round out the week on Friday at 10 a.m., we're going to be talking about lucky in love, but I've tried that before and it didn't work. So hopefully you'll be able to join me for one or several of those, and I will look forward to seeing you. And again, Visit us at takenoshit.curiouser.life if you are interested in the Boundaries Workshop. Would love to have you, and have an amazing day.